Hello, welcome everyone back to another episode of Energy Unleashed. My name is Suzanne with my partner Kim. Hello, lady.
Hello, Suzanne.
How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing great.
How you doing? Sounds
Yeah,
so
made
miserable.
it through, some of the holiday stuff so far.
Yeah, like in limbo in the middle, like hang on, right?
Now we're going into the next round.
My goal is to go through this whole time period pretty chill.
Yeah.
You know, and it's so weird. I think we talked a little, as did a couple of my family and friends. I don't really even care to pull anything out. I even talked to my husband Chuck about like, let's maybe just get a little tiny tree and put it on like a table. He looks at me, he's like, "Who are you?" I know. I don't even want to decorate a whole tree. I know, right?
I did that a few years ago,
Did
because
you?
we weren't entertaining.
Yeah.
So why put it all up if the kids weren't coming over or whatever? Because
That's
it was
kind
just
of
a
my
weird
case.
year.
I'm not doing the big thing because I just did Thanksgiving, so I'm not on task family wise for the other one, and that's kind of it. It's a lot of work, right?
Yeah, but I enjoy it.
You
I
know,
enjoy once it's all done. I really do enjoy it. But
my
we're not going to be around a
90-year-old
lot.
mother lost her mind the other day because she can't find her Christmas towels, and I'm like, "What?" And she's like, "Someone took, it's always someone took my, you're all taking my life is always the
Yeah.
underlying message, and someone took, threw away my towels or whatever." And I go, "Mom," I said, "it's just you and Dad living in a little apartment in a care center. Why do you give a crap about Christmas towels?" "They're my identity," she told me. And I'm like, "Then we've got some work to do before you leave this."
Oh. That surprises me a little bit, but I guess not. I mean, she's had a tough time lately, so I'm sure that the
Yeah.
little things matter. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
She wanted the one with the angels on them because that's what it was about. And I'm like, okay, so yeah, I don't know. I thought that was hysterical. It's my holiday identity. And I'm like, okay.
Uh, yeah, I don't know. We'll get there.
Yes, we will. Okay, so these oftentimes talk about my client sessions. This one's a doozy. I do not often tell Kim what they're about so I can get her organic reaction.
I
And
know nothing.
yeah,
Nothing.
yeah. This was interesting. I share these and take what resonates. If you learn something great, if it's entertainment, whatever. But this was interesting because I've known this gal for quite a few years. She took a lot of my classes years and years ago. She's done many of my events. Lovely woman. Don't get to see her all that often. And she came in and dropped this bombshell on me that she only had been dropped upon only within probably 2 months, 3 months ago on her. So get this, out of the blue, she's probably, I don't know, what is she, around 57, 58, right around there, and has, perfectly normal, awesome life. She's got, her kids are grown, her family's grown, blah, blah, blah. And she's struggled over the years, as many of us do, with mother issues, lots of, combative things, not horrible by any means, but always a sticky relationship. It's always been part of her work. But lo and behold, her father started to get super sick within this last year and ended up doing some really big, challenges in the hospital system. And for whatever reason, it had come down to like infusions or blood or something along those lines. Anyway, the long story short, I don't remember the premise of it. But the concept of a 23andMe kind of a thing, or whatever you want to call those blood tests for your lineage, came forward because I think it was to find out if there was something they didn't know, or maybe my client wanted to know if there was something on her. But anyway, I don't remember the premise of that piece, but that piece came forward that, Mom, we've got to do this test on Dad. And Mom lost her mind. And she's like, no. And they're all like, "What are you talking about? Of course we need to do this." And she's like, "Absolutely not." And the mom was livid against it, like absolutely adamantly livid against it. And everyone started to do the scratching the head thing, like, what? Somehow, some way, the test was done, and lo and behold, my client finds out that that's not her father after
Oh,
almost 60.
oh,
Almost 60 years. So the amazing part about this, Kim, is I have another client within the last year that almost this identical thing happened. She too was in her late 50s. Her entire life she did not know. And within one blood test, somehow through the grapevine, they found out that her entire life was a lie in terms of her lineage. And so my client is all of a sudden just dumbfounded. Not only is she dealing with all of these health issues with her dad and dying and, struggling, and then this revelation that, and hers is even more amazing because she found out that her actual lineage is Native American. So she's
What?
got I believe it was something like a third of her DNA is Native American. And she's like, what the hell? Never knew any of that. Never knew, and really small family. There's no siblings, there's no nothing at this point. And so now coming to find out that her extended family is ginormous and they're all natives. And she's like, what the heck? And I think she has maybe one other sibling, a female, and they have never, ever even looked even closely
Okay.
remotely close to each other. And my client was always like, whatever. She never thought two shakes about it. And now she's like, well, of course, because she is. She's got beautiful dark skin, dark, dark hair, and the whole 9 yards. And the sister, it would be like you and I all of a sudden going, what the heck,
Yeah, what do you mean we're not
right?
related?
What? And so it's everything shit hit the fan. And I mean like big, like really big. So how you all of a sudden sit with almost 60 years of your existence, all of a sudden the rug gets pulled out and the amount of betrayal is overwhelming. It was crazy.
I I can't even imagine my reaction to something like that. Like I don't know what I would do. I mean, you've heard about this, and I've heard about it through extended, like the 6 degrees of separation kind of a thing, like you.
Yeah.
But those tests have brought a whole nother level of discovery.
Right?
Um, has been really great for some people and really horrible for others. So
Well, and you know how I feel about those tests. I mean, I think that there's such a dark agenda behind those tests. I mean, good God, it takes this much of my spit and I send in this much. Like, where the hell's my DNA going? I just have a really hard time with those things.
yeah,
I just keep seeing, off-planet agendas, etc., talk about conspiracies. But
I
in
wish I
summary,
would have known that 10 years ago, though. So, like, come on, or
right.
12 years ago when I did 23andMe when it first came out for
And
health reasons.
Well, my dad was doing it at my kitchen table because his sister wanted it done just for giggles on a holiday. It was his gift. And I sat there going, why are you spitting an entire vial? Oh, that's weird. Hang on. Why are you spitting an entire vial when it takes like a driplet? And he's like, I don't know. And I said, you do realize that's going off planet and creating alien versions of you. And he's like, cool. I was just giving him crap, but yeah, it was funny. But anyway, I think you're right in that many, many people have been gifted wonderful news, and many, many, like this particular case, opens up an entire can of worms that I don't think emotionally anybody was waiting for. I mean,
Mm-mm.
so that wasn't even in their realm of thinking. That was just really about dad being sick or not sick. And
Okay, I
that,
have a couple questions though because
yeah,
I'm human and I just have to know. Did her dad know all along, or was it a surprise to the dad too?
that was my next twist.
No.
You stepped into the next quandary is I don't think my dad knows. And he's literally on his deathbed. Is it I'm being the client. Is it
Mhm.
my job to throw this bomb on my dad before he leaves this planet? That was a huge piece of why she came to see
Oh
me
my
and work that out.
gosh, that's a big responsibility.
So she feels in her heart of hearts that her dad does not know. And she had a real push to want to tell him that before he dies. So again, I'm not here when I'm a healer, nor am I in a podcast to tell anyone how to live or do what they need to do or choose to do. But I said, let's look at it this way. We are already having a difficult death process. The guy is struggling anyway, right?
Mhm.
And when we leave this plane, our higher self will know everything anyway.
Yep.
What is the purpose of you getting that validation before he leaves plane of existence? It's for you, not for him, because he's going to know anyway.
Mhm.
And if it is for you, do you want to put that death process in uh, a more rocky state? Because when we leave our physical form, the more stress we have, angst we have, anger we have, it is more difficult for us to, let's say, shed our snake skin, shimmy out of these bodies, because ease and grace is what we want. And if I'm having even a false sense of ease and grace, it behooves my death process, right?
Right.
And so I said, I don't get to tell you what to do, but in my opinion, it would behoove your dad's death process to have ease and grace because he's going to end up knowing anyway. I
Mhm.
think part of the reason that somebody wants to do that is a sense of control again. I need some sense of control. My whole world just lost control. I don't have any control. Plus, I want validation. Plus, I want more validation if I even got more lied to. Meaning,
Right.
did you also lie to me? Is this part of the bigger picture on the betrayal? And on it goes. So we really worked hard as a session on the actual, really primordial wound of betrayal.
Mhm.
And really think about how big this is. We bring in, and this is why we bring these podcasts forward. We bring in soul lessons all the time when divine timing is right. His divine timing of, leaving this plane of existence has to do with hers also, but she's not in charge of his, right? He's
Right.
leaving this plane. This gave the opportunity of showing something that was mass betrayal. When we find an individualized mass betrayal lesson or scenario in our family, it always relates to the max, the holographic macro of what's being released in our consciousness, in our souls, in our collectiveness. And one of those biggest and most old anchored programs is betrayal.
Is it really? I
Yeah.
I see why it would be, but I don't think I knew that was one of the biggest.
Well,
But
let's go bigger on what it
okay.
is. What betrayal is a loss and a separation. And I've been tricked. And we have
From the
as
beginning. God,
See, I
okay.
love when your light bulb goes on. That's why these are fun, right?
Yeah.
I mean, think of our God source trickery. Think of our like, what? Wait a minute. I thought he was a guy on a cloud with a book and my name is in it and I'm good or I'm bad. Gets to eventually, well, wait a minute. It's just a source and I'm a fractal of it. Well, wait a minute. Am I separate or I'm not separate? Wait, you left me here and I'm on my own. All of those things are what we're clearing out as individual incarnations of source right now. And it goes to a really deep egoic level of betrayal.
Well, I think about going back in the story of Thoth and then how they changed, and created us, as slaves,
Yep.
basically. I mean, there's
Huge
a
part of it.
whole other place to go down. That's from the beginning.
Huge rabbit hole that you can go in for conspiracy and or
Mhm.
truth is that whole concept. When we so-called fell from grace, when humanity was pretty much tricked by off-planet, on-planet relationships
Mhm.
and really betrayed thinking, oh, we're now going to be gods and goddesses and really participate. Oh, really? Wait, now we're enslaved to this stupid planet with a bunch of idiot aliens, overpowering us. I mean, it's all messed up in our heads and most of us think they're silly stories. The reality is our DNA knows that there was a massive betrayal in terms of us. So when we have these weird 3D situations that seem so traumatic in our life, and indeed they are, I'm not discounting that. Really, what's happening is we're clearing out karma from the very beginning of the human race and this planet overall. And that's why these things are happening.
So great to hear that. I mean, this is part of why we're here, right? I guess, but when your client hears this from you, I mean, the hardest part in all of this for her, because she's somehow needs to get there, is that she's going to have to forgive in this and let it go a little bit,
And go
right?
figure that was one of the cards we pulled.
Was it?
Yeah, yeah, of course.
I mean, that is so hard to step back and look at the situation and not be resentful,
Sure.
about the betrayal or even revenge in this to, totally cut that off. And yeah, so this is really it is a difficult situation for anyone to go
Yep.
through, but
And this client just found out about it within the last 3 months, and my other client, which is almost identical. And if I recall, because this is within, gosh, maybe even the last year or a little bit more, I almost think that hers also was native in terms of she had some native stuff, which I think is super interesting because I think also there is a claiming of native heritage going on in bigger ways in lineage lines. And I thought that was super fascinating because the common denominator of two random clients over 2 years, same age, same everything, was just astounding to me. And oftentimes, when I get a similar pattern in my office, that usually means there's a bigger pattern going on out here and up there.
Mhm.
So I thought that that was super interesting too, that the lineage of the native is actually coming forward for ownership a little bit. I thought that that was super cool.
So are her
Um,
children, or you said she has grown children, adult children,
yeah,
are her
yeah.
children involved in this too?
Well, I
Understanding
think
kind of,
she's stepping carefully with all of that right now. Everybody steps carefully at the beginning, and we don't know how much, to share, blah, blah, blah. But I think so. I think it's being handled very, she hasn't really confronted the mom. The mom hasn't admitted anything yet. She's still playing the I don't know what you're talking about thing, even though she knows she knows. So that's really difficult. So it's sort of in flux right now. I think what's really cool for this particular client is, again, the self-validation. Okay, there's two things. When I find out my whole entire life is a lie, I think this is a really bigger picture of what's going on for all of us because, literally speaking, most of our 3D lives is a lie. It's a projection of belief systems. I
Mhm.
don't necessarily want to use the word lie because that's a pretty strong definition, but it's a an illusion. Let's use that word. Because really, when we start to do our spiritual path work, we find out our projection of who and what we think we are, our story, is really an illusion that is based on belief systems. When
Mhm.
that whole thing goes away, we can go through a very dark night of the soul, like, who the hell am I? What am I doing? Why am I here? What is this about? That's a very typical process for most people that are going through a spiritual awakening, is that dark night of the soul and understanding I don't know anything. And so this was a tangible form of that. So when one is faced with something this large, it's critical for us to understand this is not dissimilar to me going through my life and going, well, 3D life is an illusion. The belief system I was handed by these parents, one knowing and one possibly not knowing, is already an illusion. This has all been an illusion. So does that mean that I, in my knowingness, beingness, purposefulness, worthness is an illusion? Absolutely not. But therein lies the work,
Mm.
right?
So when you say, okay, so I had you right up until the end when you said, I'm not the illusion, but I'm living in the illusion, right? Is that what you mean?
Right. It's
Okay.
like being of the world in the world, right? I
Yeah.
mean, I can be in this craziness, but it isn't what and who I am. I'm reacting, I'm projecting, I'm perceiving, I'm living in something that can be changed in 2 seconds because nothing is real until we make it real. So if I all of a sudden hold so much worth in my foundational belief systems of this is my lineage, this is my mom, this is my dad, and now I have this unbelievable opportunity, the goal, in my opinion, is to go back energetically into the form, which is what she's doing, by the way,
Mhm.
and go, you know what? I'm going to sit with this and go, holy shit. There's been a million times in my life where I knew something was wrong. There's been a million times where I don't look the same and act the same and don't even physically match in this family. There's been a million times where I want to go and really sit on a rock and do native things, and I have no idea why, but I've never really thought about it. Now I'm starting to realize that's because that's a piece of who I am. So this awakening and this knowing and this connection to truth comes through when we're almost forced to look at the illusions. And most of us don't have these opportunities of a rug being pulled out on a DNA test and all our world going to hell.
Right.
But the process is still the same. Eventually, we do have this opportunity to go 3D bullshit of this is what I do for work. This is what I do because I'm a sibling and I'm a parent and I'm a daughter. But. That's all illusionary. It's just stuff. So this is a bigger deal than we're even realizing, right?
It is so big. But again, everyone starts their process differently to go through the spiritual journey, right? Like, so
Mhm.
whatever your black night of the soul is, or whatever triggered you to start your spiritual journey, is for a different reason. So she
Yes.
was already on her journey, and then this is like disclosed.
Catapulting.
Bam!
Yeah.
And it's so interesting, especially to find out that you have Native American DNA, that it's going to hopefully for her make so much more sense, all these things that she wants to do and her reason for going through this spiritual journey. It's
And look at the timing. We can be really pissed and angry and revengeful that you went through 60 years of stuff. On the other hand, you're at an age now where your kids are raised. It is about you. You're finding your own life. You're moving forward in purpose and wonder. And this opens an entire bevy of collaboration with energies that are truly your truth. I mean, what a beautiful timing.
like,
So,
especially if, getting to know her new family brings forward some really cool new relationships and also opportunities. Like,
right?
who knows what those opportunities will be, through that experience.
Yeah, so it's overwhelming for her right now, and she's
Oh
kind of
yeah.
like just trying to keep her head up, and they're still in the death process to boot and everything, and so it's really coming down to some tough things about do I tell dad or not tell dad, and hopefully, I think she went out of the office understanding that that'll take care of itself,
Hmm.
and hopefully, and again, not my call, but it doesn't matter. I said, here's the deal: if dad knew is that change this whole scenario? Or if he didn't know, does it change it? Really change it? And she's like, no. So those are the things that we want to get down to when we're struggling with 3D things like this or rugs being pulled out is in all honesty, does that change the end result of you? Does that change anything for your safe, your worth, your enough? Does that change anything about you? And no, it doesn't because that's just
It's
not.
just throwing the turbulence at her right now until she steadies it out again, right?
Yep. Yep.
But for her dad, I mean, her relationship with her dad was hopefully, in a loving place that why would you interrupt that,
Right.
in his process if truly she loves him?
And I
Um,
don't think her relationship with her father growing up throughout the years was very easy at all. I think it
oh,
was a
okay.
very difficult, turbulent one, but stable enough that through the death process, she's there to support him. It isn't anger, horrible, like I don't want to be with you in this process, but I don't think it was all, Cleaver, Beaver, Cleaver kind of family. I don't think it was that by any means.
Okay.
So I think she's just struggling with a lot of emotion. And I think the biggest one is really big anger and betrayal from the mother.
Yeah.
And the funny part is we are gifted with these human vehicles that are so honest that they can't really lie, but we can ignore it or we can modify it or twist it or change it, but they really don't lie. And she knows that her mom was dishonest her whole life about many things, and she's always known that there was something not right. And when we can own that, I think that that's so powerful. And I think that's what overrides betrayal and moves forward with neutrality and forgiveness. It's just like you get to do that, but I also get to do a whole lot of things with this information.
Right. Right. Like a whole new family.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's an interesting thing for her mom too, that to sit back and know that she's not acknowledging it, she's in denial, whatever she's going through, the mother, but to know that she has a whole nother family,
Yeah. I
and she
think this
denied her
particular woman
that.
at this time doesn't want anything to do with that idea, but it doesn't prohibit my client from it. That's what's
No,
so.
not at all.
And again, this this actual woman was always yearning towards native things, and it always confused her. And I think this is a beautiful gift of validation for the body again that says it was always a piece of you. So you have been ignoring something that is integral in your essence, and now you're gifted an opportunity to honor that and grow that. And I think that that's unbelievably cool,
It
right?
is. Yeah, it
So,
is.
but yeah, betrayal is a really tough thing. And I think this is a bigger picture. And I just want to wind back to that and unleash that a little bit more in that we're going through a period in our bigger energies right now where everything is coming forward in many different ways as false. And oh crap, that isn't what we thought it was. And hopefully, we're going to be unleashing more and more of that stuff in
Mhm.
terms of politics and government and medicines. And, we've been lied to and programmed to for eons and eons. And religion, for example, wouldn't it be lovely that we would finally start to uncover some of these ancient things that are completely not what we think? Now,
Mhm.
What does that do to somebody that is so convinced and stringent upon that belief system? And I think my suggestion, if anyone chooses to even invite it or take it, is don't be so absolutely strict with your belief systems. Leave a wiggle factor, leave a potentiality factor, leave a wow, that may or may not be factor, because the day one does get ripped out from underneath you, the more wiggle room you have, the easier it is to tap dance through a change versus this is the truth. Because how do we even know? How do we know? We don't know, but this knows. So the relationship here is where one wants to hone that skill of, oh my God, my body just knows that native culture. That's a beautiful connection of truth. Not this is your lineage, not this. I mean, it's crazy,
Yeah,
right?
it really is. And again, going back to even the beliefs she was brought up with, in addition to now the betrayal,
Yep.
it's a lot to sort through.
Well, and I think betrayal is on the forefront of everything right now. That's
Mhm.
part of the chaos. That's part of the ascension process. The ascension process is, you're not separate from God's source. You are the God source. You are not a separation. You're a fractalization. And for us to gain our power in truth of who we are because we're creating it is really the bigger picture here. And we absolutely are going to be faced with betrayal after betrayal after betrayal when we go through the ascension process because that's the illusion breaking down. So this is a really, really big subject matter for many in many ways. This is just a tangible 3D holy shit kind of a version that
It's so
that
personal. It's
somebody
so,
signed up for.
yeah. It's just so personal compared to maybe a disclosure in politics or disclosure in Big
Yeah.
Pharma or whatever. That's personal too, but this is so personal, like
Yeah.
emotional.
But how cool is it that somebody can have the wherewithal to sign up for that personal lesson in divine timing to go, oh my God, what the hell is real and what isn't? Because now I don't have to worry about elections. I don't have to worry about policy. I don't have to worry about you have to take this medicine or have this surgery. I get to, and always have been able to, go inward and decide for myself.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the bigger cog in the wheels are doing. It's evolving everybody and anybody, but the ones that have such a personal journey like this are catapulting, like I said, into that knowingness, and it's really a beautiful thing. Or you can be pissed as hell, be angry, and turn your life into a bunch of crap.
Oh my
So,
gosh, choices, free will.
right,
Just it's the hard way.
right.
Or you work through it and like I said, forgiveness is such a big part of, not even necessarily directly to the mom, but just in her heart, that this is okay. I'm going to move on.
And thank God this woman does do as much work as she does spiritually. Let's just go 3D for a minute and pretend she doesn't even have a spiritual path and doesn't even understand anything about
Mhm.
soul contracts or divine timing or ascension or, micro, macro. All of that is off the table. And I'm not dogging anyone or judging anyone, but there's many, many people on this planet that have no context for any of that. They wouldn't be listening to a podcast like this. Which is sometimes I really think that might be easier. I mean, just to walk through life like I have no idea. But in the long run, you don't want to. But anyway, or I
No,
don't want to. I don't
no.
want to do that. But let's pretend that this kind of a situation was presented somebody that doesn't have that wherewithal to do the personal healing. What
Mhm.
happens to that person? That person is resentful. That person is angry. That person holds anger and betrayal to the depths of the days. That person breaks the relationship with the mother. That person tells the father, and ripple effects all kinds of things. So
Uh,
we've got such completely different opportunities when we're in alignment with higher source, in that this can just be a ball of crap that never stops rolling down the hill and picking up everybody with it. I mean, I would become so resentful, so angry, and so wary of humans for the rest of my days that I
yeah.
would even be affecting the guy in the grocery store. I mean, that's just how it is. Versus this is freedom and this is awe and enchantment and wonder that I can expand my life versus this is I contract. And so it's important for us to realize those are both available to us, and there isn't necessarily a right or a wrong. There's an easier path and a non-easier path.
Mhm.
And does it mean it's easy because it's in alignment with spirit? No, it still sucks. I mean, this is work, but the ease and the grace that I'm talking about is long term for your soul. And, again, this is choice.
It's choice. It's choice. And yeah, like, I mean, I think a good example is your book on the death and dying, or the book that you have is so good at explaining the death process, where when you
Yeah,
understand you're here to work through these things and how much easier your process becomes at your time,
right.
it makes so much sense to me what you're saying, that
Yes.
because I've been through that with my great aunt. I'm watching my parents now. There's just so much change and so many different things coming into play that are making things, they're resolving things while here, I guess
Yes.
I want to say. And so yeah, you should definitely check out your book for that, because I think it really helps to understand that whole death process too.
Well, and thank you. That is a good point. And I did talk to her about that. And this is, in my opinion, why we gift the father that ignorance and non-conversation, because he's already needs enough energy to die.
Mhm.
And when we get the horseshoe thrown in at the last second, and all of a sudden it's like, wait, what is going on here? That's going to just erupt a million things that he didn't necessarily even know was part of his contract.
Mhm.
So, if he absolutely did, when I tap in, I don't get the guy knows it all. So, if I'm ignorant to the whole thing, that isn't part of my lesson plan on this side of the veil. It's my lesson plan on this side of the veil, not this one. And
Exactly.
I think that to honor that sometimes is really important, and just pull away your own ego and start to go, oh, because the death process isn't easy anyway, for me.
Mm-mm.
So, yeah, it's a big choice. It's a big choice. And again, these are all her choices. Nobody gets to make them for her. Her mom doesn't even get to make it for her. She is on her own cause and effect with that, you
Mhm.
know? And so this is not easy stuff. Yeah.
It is not.
Yeah.
Well, I love and light to her, because this
Yeah,
is
right?
a lot.
And the
Yeah.
other one too, and it's funny, I thought of her when this one sat down. I'm like, holy crap, that's almost the same exact story. And I haven't seen that woman in probably close to a year. And I wonder, she was a little bit more further down the road in terms of contacting family and getting to know people, etc., which I
Okay.
thought was pretty cool. So I look forward to maybe some really cool stories of this particular newer client of saying, yeah, I've always gravitated towards things like ritual or powwows or sweats or all that stuff, and seeing if that is an invitation from her extended family will be really cool for her to grow. And I
Mhm.
think and that is the part that I think she's excited to share with her kids. Like I said, they're taking it very slowly right now and keeping it pretty private. But yeah, I just thought it was a really cool story.
It's a good one to bring
Nothing,
forward for sure.
nothing
It's
like
a
a
lot.
Christmas present.
Oh my goodness, a whole new family.
Okay, well, on behalf of Kim and I, thanks so much for listening. Take what resonates, toss what doesn't. Maybe hit subscribe and share. And until next time, maybe leave us a comment because we're here for you.
We don't get any comments.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Cosmic Hugs.
goodbye.